I would say that one of the mistakes Lala could have made, and I'm not saying anything I'm saying here is absolute. This is just my observation. Picking up from some of the things she said in the video, is that she didn't have enough money. Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so today's video is going to be a little bit of a follow-up from the previous video that I did where I spoke about Black Americans leaving Ghana and going elsewhere. So today I want to talk about Lala from Lala's journey. If you haven't checked out her channel, make sure you go ahead and check it out. Lala had traveled around Africa a bit. So she came from East Africa and eventually found herself in West Africa, in Ghana here. And she had been living in Ghana for 2 years. Now, Lala recently did a video where she explains the reasons for her now wanting to leave Ghana. And some of those reasons were reasons that I had explained in my previous video, which some of you didn't believe me about, but hey, okay. And so I just really want to break down her video so that we can get a better understanding of what happened during Lala's journey. So one of the first things that Lala brought up was the fact that her mental health had been affected while she was here. And one of the first things she says in the video is that the infrastructure caused her a lot of problems.
Number one, have decided to leave Ghana because my mental health was highly affected there in a negative way. Ghana has a lot of enjoyment, a lot of benefits, being there. Like, the party life is amazing. There's many things to do outside of the party life, as far as like beaches, events, everything is on the up and up when it comes to nightlife. But the infrastructure, Ghana's infrastructure is the reason why I'm disappointed in it is because when I moved to Ghana, I felt like I was a part of a movement. Like, I was, one of the first ones before Year of the Return to shoot a video about Ghana and my experience, and it just took off in numbers.
Now, by infrastructure, I'm assuming that she's talking about maybe the roads, the system, just basically how Ghana has been put together, how Ghana functions, how the government has put things in place for the country to function. And so some of those things affected her mental health. Lala talks about how the Year of Return brought in floods of people into Ghana. Ghana was very much made the gateway to Africa. So if you hadn't been to Africa before, Ghana was a really great place to start. And it had been marketed in a really, really good way. And so she felt like she was part of a movement when she came to Ghana. She felt like she was part of, one of the first people that was going to be here and be able to tell stories from here and really kind of get acquainted with the culture and the lifestyle. Now, what she felt was that after some time of living here was that the funds that were coming into Ghana weren't being used in a way to better the country. So the infrastructure was not improved.
I felt like the money that was being invested in Ghana from the diaspora, returnees, whatever it may be, people who are coming out here during these holiday events have brought in billions, if I'm not mistaken, to Ghana. Maybe even, probably not trillions, but they've definitely brought in billions to the country within that time period from the Year of the Return to now.
So she talks about some of the things, and one of the things that she specifically hones in on is the fact that when she moved here, she moved to an area where she didn't realize that there would be water problems. She was aware that ECG could be a problem, which is the electricity company of Ghana. She was aware that there could be problems there. She's been to other African countries, so she's experienced some of that. So, she has an element of understanding to some of these things, but she didn't know about the water issue.
It was one issue to the next. So the first thing I went through is just like apartment issues, the first apartment I went into, like, water was literally never there. So, you have to fetch water or have somebody go and fetch the water for you.
So when she moved to her first apartment in Kaswa, I'm assuming it was her first apartment in Kaswa, she realized that there was a water issue. And that is not uncommon in some areas in Ghana. There are places that you can go to where you can get rental properties for cheap. Like, you got yourself a steal of a deal. But you're not going to be in the center where Accra is, where there's a lot happening, where all the businesses are thriving. That's not where you're going to be. You're going to be slightly on the outskirts. Now, if you know anything about Kaswa and Accra, you will know that Kaswa is quite a busy area. It is, how can I say this? Kaswa is just a very busy area. If you're going to Kaswa, you're going to use your whole day to go back and forth into Kaswa, like traffic and things like that. So Kaswa is a great area if your money is limited in some way and you want to get more bang for your buck, right? Kaswa is probably a great place to start. So she started off in Kaswa, and there are going to be issues around there. So like I said, namely, she mentioned the water going out. And you know what it's like. Water is one of those things that you touch every day. You need water to bath, to wash your hands, flush the toilet. You need water. And so therefore, she had to resort to fetching water from outside, other ways that, Ghanaians make water work when there is no water available. Sometimes you have to go fetch water from somewhere else, maybe a local pipe somewhere else. You have to carry it back to the house, or you can get someone to do it for you. Or you have to keep water stored in buckets in your house if your polytank is empty. That's if you have a polytank. So a polytank will basically store water for you when the pipe goes off. So many people have a polytank. So it's like a reserve backup. So if the government, because the government does turn off the water every now and again. So if the government turns off the water, you have this huge polytank which has stored water for you. So usually you won't even notice if the water has been off for a few days because you have enough water in your polytank. So if Lala had access to a polytank, I don't know, she didn't say in the video. So when the water goes out, there is no polytank. So perhaps who she rented from didn't have a polytank to use, and therefore that caused a problem. Another thing that Lala was a bit frustrated about was after she had moved from Kaswa to another apartment in Adenta, which is much, much closer, right, to the heart of Accra, I want to say, because Accra, everywhere nowadays is called Accra. I don't even know where the line of Accra is anymore. It keeps getting straight. Every day a new place has been added to Accra. So she moved to Adenta, which is a lot closer to the heart of Accra. And, she felt like if she paid a bit more, she would get a better service. Now she ran into another problem, which was the electricity in that apartment was running out very quickly. And it is something that can happen. I've heard stories where people, they top up 500 cedis a day, by tomorrow it's gone. Sometimes there can be issues around that where perhaps someone has tapped your electricity, or just perhaps the setup was not done properly. And, for one reason or another, your electricity is running out much faster than you want. I wouldn't like to say that is a common issue because I don't think that's fair, but it can happen. And obviously it happened to Lala, and it added to one of the many frustrations that she felt here. And so things like that can make the journey harder. And I'm going to say this, one of the mistakes that Lala could have made, and I'm not saying anything I'm saying here is absolute, this is just my observation, picking up from some of the things she said in the video, is that she didn't have enough money, right? Because to be in Ghana, you have, especially when you're starting out, there's some things that you need to be aware of to have a good grip of Ghana, because I feel like if you come here and you don't have a good grip on certain things, your journey is already going to be frustrated from the off. Right? You're going to be frustrated about certain things. And if you're not careful, those things can carry on. That can happen, okay? So if you don't know about polytanks and you rent somewhere, you don't have a polytank, you don't know about the lights going out. Some areas are better to live in than others when it comes to light off. So if you have a little bit more money in your monthly budget that you can afford a better area where you're not going to get the lights off as much, then that's great. Or if you have the money to invest in your own generator or your own solar, these things help you in your journey. But if not, you're kind of subject to whatever's going to happen, and that can make it more difficult. So if you live a lifestyle that is closer to the locals rather than to someone who has a bit more money in, so they have a bit more flexibility, it can be harder to live here. Let's be honest, Ghana, if you're going to live here, you need money somehow, whether it's from savings and investment, money you're making here or wherever. You need a flow of cash in order to make your journey here a little bit easier.
Another thing is, as passionate as I am about promoting Africa, this doesn't pay me, you know. Besides what I'm getting on YouTube, this doesn't pay me.
So you see that Lala talks about how she was making money. So it sounds like she was doing some type of teaching online to supplement her funds. She was doing YouTube videos as well. That was also another stream of income for her. So really, it was her and her daughter here in Ghana. And, you know, some people feel that when they come to Ghana, that the way to go is to just start a YouTube channel. Use YouTube to make some money for yourself. And making YouTube videos is not the easiest. And Lala explains it perfectly in her video, where you go, you do interviews with people, and you know, you're using your funds to do that. You're using your funds to travel. You may have to hire a videographer. You know, there is some level of investment, whether it's time, you know, you're going to use some type of resource in order to get that content. And you know, your channel is not necessarily going to take off straight away. And so for those people that feel like you can come to Ghana, I'm just going to start a YouTube channel and that's going to be my source of income, it doesn't work like that. You're going to lose more than you gain at the beginning, because you need to invest sometimes in equipment. Yes, you can use your phone, but sometimes there are things you need to invest in. You may need to invest in editing equipment. You know, it's not a solid plan if that's your plan to come and live off YouTube money. That's not gonna work for you. Everything is up and down. You do a video today, you get great views. You do a video tomorrow, it bombs, no one watches it, and you could have a period of time where that happens. And so YouTube is not a great avenue for you know, trying to sustain yourself financially. So you have to have something else. So in Lala's case, you know, she did have teaching, but she was again struggling because some of the areas that she was living in didn't have good internet access, or lights off. When your light goes off, your internet goes off, therefore you cannot work. And so your only option in times like that is to perhaps go to an internet cafe. Again, now you're talking transport. I have to get transport to go there, to come back. While I'm there, I'm probably gonna have to buy something, because you can't just go out, sit in an internet place, you know, a cafe or whatever, and not buy anything and just use the internet for free. That's if the internet is even working in the way that you need it to work. And so there are complexities to these things. So if your income is YouTube and online teaching, it can be a little bit more. That's why I was saying that when you come to Ghana, it's very much about how you're going to generate money. You know, some type of business here is going to be great for you, or another stream of income from abroad. Teaching may not be enough. You may need to find another way to supplement your income online somehow, whatever that is going to be. So you have to think of these things before you come here, because if you come to Ghana and then you try to figure these things out, you're going to be almost like you're fighting a losing battle. It's almost like you're going to be struggle after struggle after struggle after struggle. And that is going to make your stay here a lot more difficult.
Recently, I've seen reports of YouTubers that are scamming people, and I believe it. You know, I don't know who per se may be doing these things, but it wouldn't be a surprise to me if some people were scamming to survive in Africa, you know, because it's not easy. A lot of people come on here and they paint like this perfect, positive, toxic, positive image of Africa, and no place is perfect. So
another point I wanted to pick up on was that Lala believes that some YouTubers are scamming people. And there could be an element of truth in it. I wouldn't say that's all the way true. She didn't name any names, obviously, as you can see. But she felt like perhaps people are being able to sustain themselves here because some people are scammers, not all, some people are scammers. And she particularly did say that there was this toxic positive image that people are showing in order to bring in views. Some people feel like, I'm just going to say all the positive things. Let's bring more diaspora back. Let's paint Ghana as this perfect place so that we get more people coming, more people watching these types of videos, more people wanting to know more. And wanting to know more is not a bad thing. But, you know, I've always said it, like, there has to be balance. Ghana is a great place. Hey, I'm still living here 11 years later. Ghana is a beautiful place, but you have to understand when you come to Ghana, it's not picture perfect, right? There are going to be some things that are going to frustrate you. Coming here, you're basically doing a trade-off. You're trading one set of problems for another set of problems. You are not leaving all your problems behind and coming to start over and everything is going to be perfect. And so her calling that out, I do agree with it, because sometimes people do like to just talk about all the positive things here, all the wonderful, amazing things, how Ghana's beautiful. You wake up in the morning, you hear the cockerels, you stretch and you go, you know, you get yourself fruit from the tree and everything feels beautiful and wonderful. But there's another side to that, because maybe you've picked the fruit, but you've got light off. Maybe the bin man didn't turn up. You know, like, there are other things that happen outside of that, things that may not happen in the West that can happen here. And so you need to be aware of some of these things. And in order for you to be aware before you come here, you need to have a balanced view from people who are going to talk to you about the real. And so stop bashing us when we're talking about the real, what it's really like to live here, because it is for your benefit that we do these balanced videos, you know. I would give you the positive and I'll give you the negative. Like I said, I'm still here 11 years later. I love Ghana. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I love it here. But there are things here that also frustrate me. So I can understand what Lala's saying. You know, perhaps she felt like when she came here, she wasn't told the full story, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly of here. So she had to experience some of those things firsthand. And so that's what she's calling out to be, you know, some type of like scam in the YouTube sphere, or, you know, like I talked about before, you know, people do come here who are part of the diaspora, not just Ghanaians, who do scam people because we need to survive. We need some money. So they're going to scam somebody else in order to be able to. And scammers are everywhere. They're not just in Ghana, believe it or not. Scammers exist everywhere. They're in the UK, they're in America, they're in Canada. They're everywhere, okay? Scammers are everywhere. You just have to try your best not to run into one. And one of the other things that Lala talks about is that she wouldn't have been able to be here if, you know, some people hadn't donated to her to help her.
It's hard to survive. You know, a lot of people were donating to me. I had one, well, we don't discuss numbers, but I had one supporter who's sent me so much money, you know, and out of like doing donations. So if I didn't get things like that, and even some supporters became like friends and associates to me. So a lot of people were looking out for me on the back end. So if I didn't have that support, there was no way I was going to survive in Africa just off a teaching salary.
You know, when you come here and you have children, it's a different ball game. You know, if it's just you know, you can struggle along, you can push through it. It's easier. But once you have children or a child involved in your process, things become harder because you have to be able to provide for them. And so when people were donating to her, it was helping her. But obviously, you know, people donate out of the goodness of their heart. That's not a stream of income. And so it makes it difficult. Yes, someone can donate and you think, oh my gosh, thank God. You know, I've had people donate to me. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God. You know, my life here is not also perfect. Sometimes there are times when I struggle too. And I'm like, how am I going to make ends meet? You know, and so you have to always be thinking of new things to do, new ways to make money, putting things into place, saving. When you get money, make sure you save it so that it stretches. You know, there are things that you have to do. And so it makes it more difficult. And, you know, I'm glad that people did donate and help her, because as a single mom in Ghana, that journey is difficult. You want your child to go to school. You want your child to have certain things. Your child is growing. They need clothes. They need shoes. They need to eat. If it's just you, hey, you have a house, you got a roof over your head, you paid your rent, whatever it was, you know, like you can manage yourself, right? Even if you go to bed hungry, you go to bed with a slice of bread, you're okay. You're an adult. You can sustain yourself. You can't do that if you have a child. You have to give them food to eat. You have to give them certain things. They need new clothes. You know, there are certain things that you can't just say, I'll do without. You have to be able to provide for them. So Lala having a child makes it that much more difficult. And there are other people who are in similar situations. But, you know, there are a lot of people here, you know, you come, you're married, so you're not not taking on the financial weight yourself, or you're a single person, therefore you have freedom. You make, hey, this month you made 3,000 cities. You could manage 3,000 cities for the month, whereas 3,000 cities for you plus another person may not last. And so therefore you're always trying to see where you can get money from. So financially things can get very, very tight here if it's not just you and you have a dependent.
Black people, I feel like we only see value in what's popular and who has money. Sometimes I feel like we only see value in each other when we're making money, when somebody's rich, when one of us are rich, or when, we're popular. That's it,
Now, she talks about, you have more value here when you are seen to have money. Again, this is another thing I've touched about in some of my previous videos. There definitely is a respect that comes with having money. People want to be around you. And that's not even necessarily just about them wanting you to pay for the meal. It's not just about that. It's about affluence. It's about being associated with people that have money. There is stature in having that. It's almost like you upgrade your life by being associated with somebody else. That is a common thing here. And Ghana is very much about status. And so if you are seen to be in certain circles of people, you are seen to have status, and therefore it helps to elevate you. If you are looking for opportunities, the fact that you are known to be with this type of person, you're more likely to be able to have access to those opportunities because of who you're associated with. So you almost have to maintain a particular lifestyle here in order to have access to certain things. I've said it before, Ghana is very superficial when it comes to certain things. As a woman, it's good to have your nails done. It's good to look you should be presentable anyway, but look a certain way, have your hair done, be well groomed. That's not the be all and the end all, but it adds to the status of who you can be here. And the same for men. Keep your hair cut, you keep yourself well groomed, you walk a certain way for certain stuff. These things add to the value that you are seen to have when you are here. And as superficial as that sounds, it is the truth. It will help you get certain places if you look or you come across a certain way, if you present yourself in a certain way. It is the fact of living here.
A lot of people that I try to collab with, I mentioned, hey, are you going to pay me? If I show up to your, not event, but if I show up to something that's like a collaboration and I'm exchanging my time and my energy and my resources to show up and, collab with you, then we should be paying one another. There should be some exchange.
So I would say this point I'm a bit on the fence about in terms of collabs, because I believe that when it comes to collaborations, sometimes it's not always about monetary investment. And I understand where Lala is coming from, because she does have a child. When you go out to support somebody else's event, you're going to have to, she has to find a babysitter. She has to travel. There are expenses involved in going to events and trying to do these collab opportunities. But unfortunately, sometimes they are not monetary based. You are going for exposure. You're going to get your name out there. And that is pretty much how Ghana works. You're not necessarily going to be paid when you make appearances in certain things. Ghana is very much reputation based. And so it's for you to build your brand. And you're not going to be, it's like, say I am collabing with somebody else, right? I'm like, we're trying to do this thing together almost. We're trying to I'm hyping you, you're hyping me. And so I can't pay you to do this collab because we are both almost in a similar boat. We're just trying to hype each other up. And maybe at some point I have to return the favor. So, a lot of YouTube videos, for example, I collab with a lot of people, right? And I don't pay the person and the person doesn't pay me. I go do a video for you, you do a video for me, and we collab like that. It is an exchange of services rather than an exchange of money. And that's pretty much how it works here. You're not going to be paid unless it is specific, unless maybe you've built your brand to such a place where people can where people can actually say that, okay, yes, this is the value that I'm getting by paying you to be here. If I pay you to be here, I can draw this particular crowd of people, or I can see where I'm going to get my value back. But I can't pay you to just make an appearance, especially if you are not well known. You know, there are brands here who are well known, and if they are seen to be at an event, people are gonna show up. People are gonna show up because that person. There is monetary value in that, because perhaps it's at a restaurant. People are going to come. They're gonna eat. They're gonna drink, and so therefore you recuperate your funds that way. And so therefore it makes sense to pay the person. But by you saying that, well, you know, I'm a YouTuber, and I'm not talking about Lala. I'm just talking in general, right? I'm a YouTuber, and you know, I'm just coming to be here and show my presence. That doesn't necessarily warrant monetary investment in you. And so the collab one is a difficult one. Sometimes, yes, it depends on what the opportunity is. If the person is somehow making money off you, perhaps there is a way that you can get something back from that, but it may not be monetary. And that's just how it goes. It takes years to build your brand in Ghana. If it's you are the brand, right? It takes years. People have to see there's substance in you. There is value in the things that you're saying. There is value in what you're going to bring to the table. It can't just be because I've lived here for 6 months and therefore I know some things. There's not enough value in that. There are so many people that come here, live here for a time and turn around and leave. There is not enough value in that level nowadays because people have been here for years now. And so, you know, there is not as much value placed on you living here for 2 years. For example, when I came and I'd been in Ghana for 2 years, perhaps there was a little bit more weight to it because there wasn't a lot of people who were being able to tell the Ghana story as there is now. Now there are floods of people. If I want to find someone who's been here for a year, hey, I can literally walk down the street. Have you been here for a year? I can find, like, there's 10 a penny, you know, whereas before it wasn't like that. And so there was more value placed on the number, you know, you've been here for 1 year. There's more value, there's more weight in that. So it's different times. So collab opportunities are going to be different. You have to bring something that nobody else can bring in order for you to be paid for collab opportunities. So she makes a statement and she says that she's not sure how the currency the currency fluctuation also would have affected her.
And now the currency has changed. So I don't know how that would have affected me, but
which, believe me, the currency fluctuation here is real right now. It is real. As I've said in a previous video, I do believe it will go up a bit. I don't know how much it will go up, but it's going to take a little bit of time. I think a few more months we have like this, but I believe it's going but don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that, okay? That is not my area of expertise. I'm just talking about the past and what's happened in the past. And so I'm speaking for that experience. I'm not an expert, so please don't come for me. But she says that, you know, she's not sure how the currency fluctuation would have affected her. So just that statement alone tells me that she's already left. That's what I'm assuming anyway. So currency fluctuation, very, very real here. Like your income can be slashed in half. You know, sometimes you're going to win when it comes to currency fluctuation. So if you have a tight budget and your budget is this, and you know that if it moves, you're going to shake, you know already you have to have something in there. You have to have a buffer in there somehow, whether it's going to be your savings to help you during that difficult period, or you have a way to make more money. Whatever it is, you need to have a plan because currency fluctuation happens here all the time. It's not stable. You have to change money, especially if your money's coming from abroad. I've said it before. You either have a business here that's going to supply you with cedis to make your stay easier, or you have to be able to deal with the fluctuation, the ups and the downs, and it's going to make your life tougher or it's going to make your life easier. So these are some of the things that you also have to be aware of if you're coming here. Currency fluctuation is a real thing. You know, I did have some interactions with Lala and I felt like she did like Ghana. She did have a passion for Ghana. I mean, to be here 2 years, I mean, that's not easy. Some people can't do 2 years in Ghana. It's a struggle for them. So I believe she really did try, especially having a child. That's not the easiest journey to take, you know. And she has experimented by going to different African countries and trying to see where she fit in best. One of the things that she did say is that she would come back to Ghana, actually. She would come back to Ghana, but she would want to have, she specifically used a number, she said $100,000 in her account.
I don't have any bad energy towards Ghana. I still love Ghana and I always visit Ghana. But if I'm gonna live in Ghana, I'd rather be making lots and lots of money and have at least 100,000 in my bank account. So, you know, I could just be in the most luxurious apartment or house and, you know, have the finest experience.
Like, she wants to make sure she has enough money in her bank accounts to sustain the kind of lifestyle that she would want to live here. So it tells me that she didn't dislike Ghana. She just didn't have the funds to be able to live the life that she would have liked, the comfortable life that she would have loved to have lived. And that made it more difficult for her. So, you know, the house, having the car, you know, that dream lifestyle that we all aspire to having here. Well, okay, I'm not gonna say all because, you know, maybe some of you don't want that lifestyle, but, you know, for the majority of people, they wanna have the lifestyle where you have the house help, you have the gardener, you have a driver, you know, you have a chef, and you have all these amazing things that perhaps you can't afford in the West. That's, you know, hey, I'm not, like me, I ain't gonna turn that, if you're giving me that, I ain't gonna turn that down. But, you know, that's a kind of like a lifestyle that you'd want to live. And hey, if you can have that lifestyle, I'm not hating on that. Ghana is pretty much about what you can make from it. You have to craft the lifestyle that you want. So if you know you want to live this amazing lifestyle, then make sure your bank balance can tie up with that. Otherwise, it's almost like you have this fantasy in your head that this is what I want to achieve, but you don't have the funds, and therefore it can feel frustrating. You can feel stuck almost. But if you come to Ghana and you're realistic about what you can achieve here, the funds that you have, and you know that I'm going to grind for 5-10 years to be able to achieve the lifestyle that I want, it will make it easier. But if you always have goals of this dream lifestyle and you don't have a timer on how long you're going to take to get there, it can feel frustrating being here. Everything in its time. You know, hey, I have been here building my house for years, like start, stop, get a little money. You know what I mean? I miss out on tons of things because I just want to try and get myself to a place where I feel comfortable. You know, people have said to me, why don't you rent out your house and live somewhere else? Because you could rent it out for a good amount of money. And that's not what I'm trying to do here. Like, I want the peace of being able to live in my own home and having certain things. So therefore, I choose not to take that path. Although I know that I could, I choose not to take it because this is the lifestyle that I want for me. So, hey, I'm happy to hustle to get what my ultimate goal is. And that works for me. That doesn't work for everybody. And perhaps they would take the route where they'd rent it out and, you know, see some dollars in their bank account and live somewhere else and, you know, be receiving that money. That's not what I want to do. I'm willing to hustle for what I want later on, but everybody is different. So, you know, support is also one of the things that Lala talks about.
See my people that are there and they're thriving, they have their businesses, they have support. You know, that's what a lot of people don't tell you as well. And this is another reason why I'm leaving. I don't have much support there. I support my daughter, but as far as, you know, me having family there that can have my back, or as far as me like being with a Ghanaian man and him holding me down, I don't have that. But a lot of people that I see that succeed in there, they have that. They either have their family from foreign who come there with them, or they have, you know, people there on the ground.
And I do agree with this mostly because obviously anywhere you go, having support, you know, that's going to help you. But Lala talks specifically about, you know, she doesn't have a Ghanaian man supporting her. She doesn't have family here supporting her. Now, there definitely is community when it comes to living in Ghana, right? Especially, you know, if you do have family here, right? It can make your landing easier. But I will say this. Ghanaians are happy to support you, but it ain't going to be forever. So even your own family can get fed up of you. Your own family is not going to support you forever because, one, you're an adult. You have to carve your own way, right? And two, people have their own issues going on as well. You know, Ghanaians will welcome you and say, yes, you know, come in, they'll accept you, they'll bring you in, but they cannot take care of you forever. That's not going to happen, even if they are your family. At some point, you have to stand on your own 2 feet. So yes, it's nice to have that support. And I'm not even just talking financially. I'm just talking about just general support, whatever that may be. you can't always call up your family. Can you help me with this? Can you help with that? Can you do this? Can you do that? They also get busy. And once you've been here for some time, they see you as, hey, fly the nest. Like, you know, you have to have your own support system here, like grow yourself, you know, like find your community of people that you pull on every day to help you in certain situations here. That's how it is. And I'm not saying your family abandons you, please. Like, sometimes I feel like, why do I have to always put these disclaimers in these videos where I have to say, I'm not saying everybody or this, that, and other? Because sometimes the comment section, I don't understand it. It's wild. Like, you have to have the ability to read between the lines when I say certain things. I shouldn't have to always be like, I shouldn't always have to hold your hands and be like, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. This is what I mean. Like, it shouldn't always have to be that. You should be able to understand what I'm saying as well. When I say certain things, I cannot, how do I even say this? I cannot always put a disclaimer in and say, I'm saying this, but, you know, it doesn't also mean this. It doesn't mean that. Do you know what I mean? Like, paint the picture for yourself. Like, read between the lines, put it together for yourself. I can't put a disclaimer in everything. I'm sorry. Now I've even forgotten what I was even saying. Sorry, I just went off on a little tangent there. But I can't remember what I was saying. Yes. So I was talking about, you know, having people on the ground, family on the ground and stuff like that. Your community of people is definitely going to help you here, right? Having a solid base of friends. Now, again, there are categories when it comes to building friendships here. You know, people come and go from Ghana. So sometimes you may have established a good friendship with people and then they leave. You're still here. Now you've lost that friendship. You almost have to be able to have a community of people, but in terms of like your friendships, your solid friendships that are going to hold you down, you have to have the understanding that sometimes they may not always be there. And so sometimes you're going to have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. I am a prime example of that. I've had friendships here which have fallen apart. I have friendships where people have left. You know, things change. And so there have been times where things have been good and I've had like tons of people to go out with, I've had tons of things to do. And then there have been times when no one's been here. And that hasn't, I'm fortunate enough to have been able to stand on the ground and say, well, I still live here. Like, that's not going to shake me and make me return. That's going to be like, I'm still here. Do you know what I mean? I'm open to making new friendships. I'm open to being here. Hey, I'm a bit of a lone ranger anyway. I always have been in my life. And so I feel like that has also helped me be here because I'm happy to be by myself. I don't necessarily need the attention of others in order to feel fulfilled here or to be able to sustain myself. I don't necessarily need that. And so that's been of benefit to me. But if you're somebody who needs other people, it's going to be a bit more difficult for you to be here. But hey, like I said, the diaspora community is for you. You know, join these Facebook groups, there are WhatsApp groups, there are things that you can do. You know, you meet people at events. But again, these things cost money to go to get up to go to an event. You're going to have to get in an Uber if you don't have a car. You're going to have to eat when you're there. You know, certain things, not every event you can turn up to. These things cost money. Lala has chosen to leave Ghana, and I hope maybe at some point she'll be able to come back to Ghana and give it a second chance, or whether that's for vacation or to live, I don't know. But, you know, I would say pretty much Lala has confirmed what I was saying in my previous video, where Ghana can be difficult. It can be hard for people to move here, especially if you have certain expectations. You know, you need to have a real balanced view of what it's like to live here. Finance is going to be a huge one. Many people run away because of financial issues here. It's hard, currency fluctuation. All of the things that we've already touched on in this video can make living here that much more difficult. So you have to be able to solve those problems, hopefully before you get here, rather than when you're here and you're in the trenches, because it makes it more difficult, you know. Find yourself a community of people that are going to hold you down when you're frustrated about things, people that you can bounce things off, ideas off, people who just understand you and can just listen to you from a point of just simple understanding can help you. This is not a video to show how she failed. This is a video to show you the things that can happen, the realities of what it is to live here. And I really wanted to get an example for you to show you that living in Ghana and romanticizing the idea of living here are two different things. But that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. I feel like, you know, the point has been made now. But do, you know, head over to Lala's channel, subscribe, support her. You know, she's going to show more videos from the continent. She's going to show more videos about living in Jamaica and what that's like for her. I hope she has an amazing time in Jamaica. I hope things get better for her because, hey, it's not easy, especially when you have a child. I know I have children. It can be tough. Let me know what you think about what has been said in the comment section. Let's talk about it. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel as well, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment and share this video. Until next time, I am out. Notify.